Okay, actually, I feel like one of the most important things religious bodies need to do is they should stop saying stay. Most times, people experiencing DV, they don't just experience it off the jump. You'll not just meet a guy and the guy will start beating you on the first day. No, they drag you in. First of all, they show you love. They kind of, I don't say hook you.
Welcome to another fascinating episode of the Healthy Happy Human Show. This promises to be insightful, entertaining, educative, and informative. It's a very important topic always, on the Healthy Happy Human Show. Right now we're talking about domestic violence. Yes, my name is Justman, the microphone luminary, and on the show today with me is one who is well read in this area. Of course, off camera, we had a conversation, and of course, she said you don't have to have experienced it to know how to talk about it. She has good knowledge about this, and she's going to be talking to us about domestic violence. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Udo, how are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm great. Udo. I'm sure Udo means peace.
Yes, it
so
does.
You bring us peace.
Yes,
not
everywhere.
violence.
Not violence.
So we brought peace to talk about domestic violence, right, ladies and gentlemen. So I'd like for the records for you to tell us your name by means of introduction.
Okay, my name is Dr. Udo.
Are those all your names?
The ones I want to share, yes.
Okay, yeah. I'm not going to be violent.
Okay.
So let's talk about domestic violence real quick. Now,
okay.
How do you define domestic violence, and in what forms, or what are the forms that it takes?
Okay, I would define domestic violence. These are acts of violence that occur in the household with intent to cause harm. Now, there are different forms of domestic violence. Most times when people hear domestic violence, they're only thinking, oh, when they beat somebody up. But no, there are different forms. They can be the physical one, when that's actually when you're being beaten up. There's also emotional. There's also economic and sexual. Now, I'd like to explain each of them. Now,
Please help us break it down.
Okay, now, so for the physical one, that's when they are beating you, they are slapping you, grabbing you aggressively. All those ones are under the physical. Now, for the emotional ones, these ones, they usually involve threats. So either threat to self or threat to you or your loved ones. So the person can be like, oh, if you don't do this, I'm going to kill myself.
Like blackmail.
Yes, emotional blackmail. Or it'd be like, if you don't do this, I'm going to do something to you. I'm going to do something to your parents or the children, our kids, that kind of thing. Yeah. All those are under like the emotional. Yeah. Then for economic, these are maybe your partner does not want you to have like what they call it, bank account. They don't want you to have any kind of. They don't want you to be able to support yourself. Freedom. Yes, financial freedom. You cannot have a bank account. You can't go to work, nothing. So that actually is an example of economic domestic violence. The last one is what they call sexual. They are the sexual one. Now for the sexual one, this is where they perform like sexual acts on you against your will. You're telling them, I don't want, and they're still doing it. That actually is domestic violence still.
Could that be the only indicator in sexual violence? How about?
They're also treating you like a sex object, a sex toy. Something they use at their will. That's actually.
How about denying you?
Denying you.
Yeah.
Denying you. Actually, yes. It can actually, yes. Maybe they can even try to use it as maybe to get their way. Yeah. They can use. Yes, actually, yes. I agree with that. That's too.
And each of these forms can be attributed to different gender.
Yes,
we know for a fact that physical abuse
is mainly men
coming from the men.
Men, yes.
And we can also agree that economic abuse,
also men, yes,
could also come from the men.
Yes.
But we know that
also sexual though, sexual too. Sexual, it goes both ways.
A lot of times comes from the feminine gender.
Sexual.
Yeah.
I will admit, I can admit.
Let me see you come and touch me this night.
That's in the case of when they are using it to get what they want. But in cases of the other two ones I gave, actually, men do those more. The against your will and using it as a sexual object. Don't get me wrong, I can admit that two of them do, yes, but I also feel like
we're not going to be placing genders side by side for now. But we want to ask this very simple question. Okay. What are the signs or indicators that someone is experiencing any form of abuse?
Okay, so one of the main forms, or one of the main signs rather, is if you have a friend that usually she used to be, or he used to be, the person used to be, what they call it, bubbly, person was an outgoing person, and suddenly you see that the person is less sociable, the person doesn't come out anymore. That's actually a sign that maybe the person may be experiencing DV. Also, if you have a friend that if you had a friend that she used to have like, or he used to have various hobbies that they used to do, various interests, and you notice that recently nothing seems to
interest them
yes, they
anymore.
don't do anything. All
They're
those
just
things they
numb.
the ways used to be out there, person life
Yeah.
of the party, and you notice that oh no, nowadays they're always at home, there's nothing they're doing. That can also be a sign. If you have a friend that also you notice that the person is always with their partner, you can't seem to have like alone time with that person. Every time, like, babe, come, let's go here, or guy, come, let's go here. So that can also be a sign that
it could be that they are probably with a control freak.
Yes, yeah, control freak. They don't want people to have access to you because they try to isolate you from people that like your loved ones. So that can also be a sign. And if you have a friend that you notice that every time you see this friend, you see him or her with a new injury, and whenever you ask them, what happened to you? The story doesn't match what you're seeing. So you can have a friend that maybe she has a bruise on her face or he has a bruise on his face. Say, what's up? What happened to you? The person cannot say, oh, I just woke up this morning from my bed and I fell down. And you're looking
like,
down
the stairs.
What you're saying and what I'm seeing is not the same. That can also be a sign. And if you also have a friend that you notice that anytime you're with the person and their partner, this partner seems to always be taking jabs at them, always trying to like bring them down somehow, yes, in front of you. That can actually also be a sign that yes. So those are some of the common signs of people that experience DV.
In our society right now, depression is a thing.
Yes, it is.
It's a big thing.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm pretty sure it's like an offshoot of some kind of violence, domestic violence. Yes. One of these forms, it could
yes, in the mental aspect.
Yeah,
yes.
So I want you to walk us through the effects of the physical effects and the mental effects of domestic violence on survivors.
Okay. So on survivors. So for the physical, let's start with that. Yeah. So for the physical, you can notice that the person always has bruises. You can notice that maybe person always has like broken bones, something is just broken, it's fractures or something. You also notice that sometimes they have problem sleeping, or even like they have problem falling asleep, or even maintaining like sleeping for long periods of time. Because usually they don't feel they are always anxious. They don't feel safe. Yes, they're always tensed up. So that can also be like one of the signs, and also actually death. Yeah, death. That can also be one of the physical aspects. Suicide. Suicide. Or the person actually finally kills you. That's actually so sad. Yes. Then for the mental side, they usually have like low self-esteem because they take jabs at you. That's so when try to shrink you. Yes, it kills your self-confidence. You don't have anything. So they have low self-esteem. They have problem trusting people. Yes, they have problem
insecurity.
Yeah, they're always insecure, and usually they become self-destructive and start practicing social vices, so that they are drinking too much or they are smoking, taking drugs. So all those things are also part of the mental toll that DV can take on somebody. Wow. Yeah.
So, sometimes, just like we said, domestic violence is something that happens for it to be domestic, it has to happen amongst close groups. Could be family members, could be a circle of friends, could be just around, So, what toll does this take on people who are probably impacted by this? For instance, let's go with family. A husband and a wife. What effect does it have on family members and even children who must have witnessed this?
Okay, so I would like to talk on the immediate family, so like their kids. Yeah. Now, for instance, for children living with or experiencing domestic violence, I'm going to divide it into like preteens and teens. So now for the preteens, they cry a lot. They're always crying. They are shy. They can develop a stutter. Yes, they can develop a stutter. They can also, bedwet even when well into their teens. So some of them can still be bedwetting till their teens. Things that are meant to have stopped, they're still doing it. So that can also, some of them can actually become bullies. Even at their small age, they can become very aggressive. They don't usually have a lot of friends, or they have little friends or no friends at all. In school, they don't socialize. Yeah, that also comes into play for teens too. But now the difference is that with teens, they can also now start what they call it social vices. They get in trouble with the law. You can catch them. They're now stealing. They're now doing things they're not meant to do. They are now smoking, drinking. Going out to parties and stuff like that. So all those can have effects. Those are the effects that it can have on the children living with.
And family members.
Yes. For the family members, it takes an emotional toll on them because it's not easy to see your loved one going through that. Yeah, it's really not easy. And the thing now, with this thing, when you try to, it's not so easy to help.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not so easy to help. So it takes an emotional toll on the loved ones, and it's not.
Because of course sometimes it gets them frustrated.
Yes, it's frustrating, but that's the thing. You can't drag the person out, because most times when you drag them, they go back.
It brings me to the next question. And I'm going to start this question with a very short story, a real life experience that I witnessed myself. There's this girl who was dating this guy, and we all lived in the same building, right? So we who were living around, we knew that this was a very toxic relationship. He was always beating her and always beating her. So there was this night that, in fact, it was a royal rumble till daybreak.
Wow.
So we who were the guys in the hood came out and said, no, we have to step in for her. We got her out, called her friends, her parents, they came and they got her and they took her away from him.
Okay.
And just that evening,
she was back.
So what are the barriers that are keeping people from seeking help?
Okay, so one of the major barriers, actually, especially in this our society in Nigeria, it's they feel ashamed.
Societal construct?
Yes, because let's imagine, in a case where they're actually married. Now, Nigeria is not a country where divorce is something people do. It's really frowned upon, and they feel like they are failed. That they feel like failures, like I couldn't hack it, I couldn't keep my marriage. Always like keeping
religious.
Yes. So that's actually one of the main reasons why they don't leave, because they're ashamed. Or even if they are not married, that maybe they are dating. Well, people maybe have invested a lot in the relationship. You can't just imagine coming to tell your friends or your family that he could not work. So that's the shame.
That you actually thrive through crisis. That relationships thrive in chaos.
Really?
People think so too, don't
That's actually wow.
Okay, so
that's actually,
these are the barriers that stop people from
that's
seeking
one
help.
barrier. Another barrier can actually be they don't feel safe. They feel like if they leave, they'll be killed. Like because if you want to, let's say you want to you're experiencing DV now and you want to go to the authorities, in as much as you actually have to have evidence. Without evidence, if you just come and say, they are beating me, or they did, especially when it's the psychological kind, you can't prove that. You can't prove that. So that's one of the things they face, because they feel that if they leave, if they go to police may not be able to help them. And even if police helps them and they have evidence and the person goes to prison, usually when they come out, they try to seek revenge. So those are some of the things that are stopping them. Another thing, actually, another barrier that people face is they are financially dependent on their abuser. So they're like, if I live here, what next for me? Especially if they have kids. It's like, what next for me? I don't even have bank account. I don't have any job, nothing that I'm doing. So if I leave this man, what will I do? Yeah, and if you have kids, it's even worse. It's because now, in as much as you're being abused, that person also has rights to those. Yeah, so you can't just carry them and run away. It makes things a lot more complicated. And another barrier that they also face is that, funny enough, some of them actually feel responsible for what they are going through. They actually feel like, okay, he beat me because he said, I did this. So if I don't do this thing again, he will not beat me. But it actually doesn't work that way. It actually doesn't work that way.
Is there an explanation medically for the attachment, the emotional attachment that partners share?
Medically?
Referring to this story I just told you, she must have been welled up in her house. So let's imagine that she was taken away to her own house. She must have been there and like, I miss him after all.
Why do you feel like it must be I miss him after all?
No, I'm just asking.
Okay.
In some scenarios, the women could not leave because they have been
that's
so
actually
attached.
another barrier.
So
because they still love the person and they feel like
attachment. Is there an explanation medically for that attachment?
Medically, to be honest, I actually can't say if there's any explanation medically, but they feel this attachment that, he loved me. And most times people experiencing DV, they don't just experience it off the jump. You'll not just meet a guy and the guy will start beating you on the first day. No, they drag you in. First of all, they show you love. They kind of, I don't say hook you, but you get what I'm saying, trying to say. Yeah, you fall in love with them and then they now start. And society, not every person wants to just pack their bags and leave on the first. They're always like, maybe because he lost his job, that's why he's acting this way. Maybe when he gets a new job. But it doesn't really.
So how can society now help? This brings us to society. I don't want to say the government, because the government is already saddled with a lot of stuff, right? NGOs, medical teams like the Healthy Happy Human Show, and so many others. How can they help to, overcome these barriers, help survivors beat these challenges?
Okay, so one of the things that you can do to help survivors, actually, you can tell them to go to trained professionals. They should go for therapy. People that can help them to process the trauma they've been through and to develop back their self-esteem and their self-love, and also help them in their next relationship so they won't experience what they just experienced again. So that's one way you can help. You can also help by giving them legal advice. Some people, they need lawyer to maybe do restraining order for the person that is abusing them. They need lawyer for maybe if they have a child, they want to do child custody, yes, agreement and stuff like this, or to even get a divorce. So they also actually really need legal help. Another way you can help them, actually, some people prefer to talk to their pastors based on religious belief than rather talking to a therapist. So if that's what they want, it will also be helpful for pastors, imams, any religious head to actually help them. They can now be their kind of therapist, confide in them, and they can come to complain about anything.
Brings me to religious bodies. What role can religious bodies play in averting domestic violence? I'm going to be very specific about a certain scenario that we know about. We all know about, happened in 2022. A popular lady.
Is it Bimbo?
Not Bimbo. Osinachi.
Oh,
who was right there in the church. What effort do you think the religious bodies, now I'm not targeting Christianity alone, I'm saying even Muslims and so on and so forth.
I feel,
what do you think the religious bodies can do any better to avert any such cases?
Okay, actually, I feel like one of the most important things religious bodies need to do is they should stop saying stay. That thing that they preach, that they can tell, they'll tell you to fast, to enter praying room and pray. Yes, to buy anointing oil. Yes, they'll tell you all the. Please, just stop. Stop. I personally don't feel marriage is do or die. Because you cannot tell me that God brought me to this world for someone to be beating me. Why? Or someone to be causing me emotional turmoil every time. It's not necessary. I feel like that's one of the most important things, because a lot of people, especially if they're religious, they'll tell you that divorce in the Bible, they say don't. That's one of the most important things. If actually religious bodies stop telling people to stay because the Bible said or the Bible didn't say, it will really help. It will, because they feel like if they do this, they will be punished. They will go to hellfire. So,
thank you so much, Today we've talked about domestic violence in all its forms. We've been able to dive deep into the crux of the matter, and Udo has brought peace to all the violence. Until next time, do well to share your experiences in the comment section. Don't forget to like, of course, share with your friends, and subscribe. Until next time, Udo.